Oh, sorry, it's quite unfortunate. I have been talking for 10 minutes, but I didn't know that it is the audio was disconnected. That's a shame. Okay, so I told you that he wrote a volume of poems entitled The Temple, and you know that even the title of this poem is religious. It is about the place where people go to worship God and of course to supplicate and so on. So his poems, he wrote 169 poems in temple, and the temple became one of the most important, poems collections of the period. However, almost all poems, not almost, absolutely all poems that he wrote are in praise of God, in praise of Christianity, and they show his belief, his firm, strong belief in God, and of course in Christian ideology. So he is quite interested in writing about the church, about people in church, about Christian, even dogma that sometimes can be a type of exaggeration about not his faith, but about the reality of Christianity that should be regarded by people as the most important thing in the world or in their lives. So he writes about he writes a lot about hell or inferno. He writes about paradise, about heaven, about God, about Jesus Christ, about Mary Magdalene, as we will study later, about Mary, the Virgin, and of course he is very much interested also in the tradition of contrition and confession too. So definitely he is one of the most leading religious poets ever England had witnessed. So The Color is one of his best poems that, of course, I do believe that you have read it maybe before in your BA study. So we don't go through reading the poem The Color, but we'll start with another poem that is the beautiful visual poem, or we can call it pattern poem, as the Easter Wings. So do you have the poem in hand to read it now? Okay. So let's see. We do have a list of people who are ready to read the poem. Let's start with the first one. Zahra Muhammad Abdul Karim. Could you read the poem? I should unlock you first. And then Muhammad Razak Yasmand. And then Huwaida. Fatima Kunan. And then Taysir. Okay. Zahra Muhammad. What is the problem? Do you have a problem with the microphone? Okay, Mr. Yasmand, could you continue until she can come back to the microphone?
Yeah, yes, hello, sir.
Hello.
As I did not have the voice for some seconds, is any part of this poet read, or shall I start from the beginning?
No, just read the first part of the poem.
Oh,
So you
sure,
know that the
yes.
poem is in the form in the shape of two wings.
Yes, it
So we
is.
start reading from the beginning, and that is the first stanza that starts with uh, Lord who created man
Yeah,
in
sure.
wealth and
Lord, who createst man in wealth and store, uh, though foolishly he lost the same, decaying more and more, till he became most poorer. With thee, oh, let me rise, and as larks harmoniously, and sing this day thy victories. Then shall the fall further the flight in me.
hmm. Okay, so this is the first wing. And what is the significance of this word? I mean, of this part of the poem. So here in
Uh,
the beginning of the poem, he is addressing, I mean, the generosity and kindness of God. That God gave everybody everything, but they were fool enough to lose all of them. So who is the subject of this part of the poem? Who is man? Who created man in wealth and store?
well, in this first part, the poet is discussing, as you mentioned, the generosity of God. And of course, the poet is addressing the fall of the Adam from paradise as a religious story. And he's complaining about this fall and who has caused this fall to happen, who, I mean, is referring to Adam himself. uh, I mean, as a person who has done something, and we are all, I mean, all the humankind is suffering from what has God given to us, even now as the new generations being born from Adam. So in the first lines, we can see that Lord who created man in wealth and store is referring to the situation Adam had that time. I mean, having had a lot of facilities and whatever he needed for life as food, shelter, comfort, and everything. But in the other verses of the poem, we can see that it is referring to the foolishly action or act that Adam has done, which was, I mean, is referring to biting the forbidden fruit, has been done by the Adam and Eve. So it made him and his generation being away and far away from the paradise. And this continued even till now, as the poet refers to decaying more and more till he became most poor. So I believe that by most poor, he does not mean Adam himself, but also we as people who are living right now. I mean, as the reader of this poem, in any time it could be.
Hmm.
But it furthermore continues that things would change by God, and everything would become any better. So I believe that when we have got the longest verses, the longest lines in this poem, it has the most positive perspective toward things, the most hopeful and the uplifting parts of the life and things like this. But when it comes to, I mean, when the lines are descending and it's getting shorter, we have, I mean, more depressing, more negative side of the life. I mean, so if we consider the form of this, the style of this poem as two wings, in the middle, unavoidably we have the body. I mean, the body of a bird, which we can refer to as ourselves. I mean, human being. So, uh, therefore, we can mention that the most descending part, the shortest part of the poem is referring to human being itself, which has caused all the problems he's suffering these days. for himself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, actually, the shape of the poem is semiotically and symbolically quite important and, of course, expressive enough to show us the latent meaning of the poem. So if you look at the poem, you see that the poem is in the shape of two wings. They are just two open wings that want to maybe fly. The poet or the subject in the poem. So, however, the thing that causes the reality of this poem to be palpable to us is that we do believe, or as Herbert himself believes, we do believe that the spiritual the spiritual ascent of human being, if they are religious, of course, is only possible through the wings that God could create for him. However, you see that in all of these lines, you can see the trace of God. So this is the wing that has been supported and, of course, energized by the power of God. And without God, this poem could not be any flight. And that is, a sort of maybe exaggerated realization of the function of Christianity that could be, to that sense, as George Herbert had understood, redemptive. So, you see, the poem reads, Lord who creates man in wealth and store, though foolishly he lost the same, decaying more and more till he became most poor with thee. Oh, let me rise, as larks harmoniously, and sing this day thy victories. Then shall the fall further the flight in thee. So, you know that the last lines of the stanza, he believes that if you do not help people or human being, the fall of human being will continue, so that, well, someday human being will perish entirely. So, and here he refers to larks. Oh, let me rise, as larks harmoniously, and sing this day thy victories. So whose victories is it?
AI?
Just let's see if somebody else is going to talk, maybe.
Sure.
So, Ms. Nekunam or Taysir? So any of you, Taysir or Nekunam, could you continue?
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Amazing. I was having some problems with my mic.
Okay, so whose turn is it now to talk? I think Taysir could get the microphone first.
Sure. Sorry.
Yes, Doctor. Perhaps the poet is referring to the Jesus Christ in the poem when they wanted to kill him. He was replaced with two wings, and his soul went to the sky or heaven. Maybe this the meaning of the poem.
So what do you mean by booming? I don't understand.
The shape of the poem presenting a dying or falling, then rising.
Oh, the poem, you mean? The shape of the poem? Well, we don't hear you anymore. Okay. Ms. Nikunam, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Actually, I was thinking that maybe it's talking about, since the name of and the title of this poem is Easter Wings, I thought maybe it's talking about Jesus Christ as well, because this is the day that Christians believe he raised from the dead. And I think the poem is asking, the poet is asking God to help him rise and actually rise from his sins, I believe. Just like he helped Jesus, and that is going to give him redemption. And I guess
So, but what is that word victories? I mean, thy victories. Whose victories is it? And victory over what?
um,
Do you know what word I'm talking about?
yeah. Can I think about it? Sorry.
Yes. Who else? Who may want to say something about this word, victories? Fikri Badi al-Shuwaili. Let me unlock you. And let's see if somebody else had. Egah Majidi, yes. I have activated your microphone, Fikri, so you should wait. But I don't see that it is activated because probably your microphone is not connected at all.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
You're talking about the word victory, am I right?
Yes, whose victory is it, and what is the subject of that word?
I think this is an allusion to a story that actually I've searched for it, and this is, I think, an allusion for a holiday which is celebrated when Jesus Christ was risen from dead, and as he actually is rising from that, there are people are allowed to sing and actually celebrate something for this victory that and actually this is the rise of the mankind from the down, I think.
But what about the, of course it could be true, however I do not reject it. But I'm wondering if there could be another reading. So the reading, of course, here he says that is refer to the previous line. He says, "Oh, let me rise as larks harmoniously and sing this day thy victories."
Sir, I think this is a kind of begging to God, that man is begging God to actually forgive him for the sins that Adam and Eve made, and I think this is a kind of begging, and I wanted to add this
Yeah,
as
but
well.
my clear question is that what the word victories refer to.
Okay,
Whose
let
victory?
me search for it more.
It is the victory of God, the victory of
Victory
God
of
over
God.
sins, because
Okay.
this is maybe the trust of George Herbert in the power of God, and he says that you can be victorious over all sins, and we, the human beings, are not able to resist some temptations, and so we will be always sinful. The only one, the only person, the only figure, the only concept that is never, that never falls into the plight of sinfulness is God. And he says that you are victorious always in resisting God, resisting sin. So God is always pure, God is always beautiful to us, and God is a condition that never commits sins. Just give me a second. Okay. Sorry for this interruption. Yes, and then yes. Who is this? Victory. Yes.
Yes. You ask about the victory,
Yes.
as I heard.
Yes. The victories.
Yes. The boat wants to rise into heaven, and think about Jesus rising from the dead, and that we have a chance of getting into heaven. I think this about the victory. And if you want to add something to the point.
Yes, if you want, if there is anything else.
Yes, sir. This poem is a shape poem or a pattern poem, and it is about his own journey of reflection about Easter time and sense. Also, it is a dialogue with God, and this is about hope and the freedom of habit as a Christian. The poems lie down in a way that looks like wings, and the first lines is directly addressed to God and analysis of Adam and Eve's and that to the most hope, and some shortest lines that are mostly despair. And this means that God gave Adam and Eve everything, but then they became weaker and weaker because of their sin. Also, the poem is based on the Christianity and the forgiveness of sins and the possibility of joining Jesus Christ in heaven after death. The poet was a religious man who became a priest, and the word in the title Easter is Christian that forgive human sins, but rose from the dead on Easter Sunday morning, and soon after went to heaven. And as a result, Jesus showed us Adam's original sin, and all has the possibility to eternal life in heaven if they have a good life free of sin.
Yes.
Also, we have yes.
Yes, please. Yes, go on.
Yes. Also, in this poem, Herbert feels guilty about the sins he committed and wants to be allowed eternal life in heaven. He wants to fly to heaven where he can be with Christ. He is so eager to be with Christ in heaven that doesn't want to wait for his time to die. He wants to join Christ in heaven now because it is Easter time, and he wants to take a bird to heaven. But I think there's something that impedes him and may describe this in the shape of a single pair of wings. Thank you, sir.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, that is true. And the association between the shape of wings and the content or the meaning that is behind it or behind the wings could be quite relevant to the salvational or what we call redemptive, opportunity of Christianity, that it is by Christian faith that people can reach redemption. And this is something that Jesus had experienced. In the same way that Jesus had fled from this world, earthly love, of course, had been denied. And of course, he had devoted his soul and his body to God. In the same way, also, the poet is trying to redeem himself. And this is a kind of metaphysical transcendence that allows him to be a canonical figure in the filthy world that is always contaminated with lies and blasphemy and felon and other things. So this is, I think, a kind of metaphysical representation of the function of Easter Day. However, by Easter, we do not really mean that Easter, I mean, that is now as a festival held in other countries, in Christian countries, but it is a general, actually, expectation that occurs to the mind and the heart of the poet. And he believes that in the same way that Jesus Christ on Easter Day was resurrected to God, we all should find the wings that will help us to reach God. And the second stanza, my tender age in sorrow did begin, and still with sickness and shame, thou didst so punish sin that I became most thin. With thee, let me combine and feel this day thy victory. For if I imp my wing on thine, affliction shall advance the flight in me. So here he is talking about the hope of being forgiven by God, and of course, when he is well punished for his sins. Yes, of course, that is true, Taisir. Maybe that is the same image that we have in mind, that when we die and our bodies are buried, it doesn't mean that we are finished, but our soul, our spirit, will come out of the grave and will be wandering in heaven. Actually, sometime the option of living with God is realized through the flight of our soul. However, our body is decaying in grave. Okay, who else? Who wishes to talk? Zahra Muhammad, there should be something wrong with your computer or with your microphone, in a sense. I don't know how to solve it and how we can solve it. Let's see, Mona Muhammad Hassan. Yes. I have unlocked you, Mona.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to talk about the second stanza. In the second stanza, the speaker or the poet himself continues to use the first person pronoun. He says he was born in mourning for the first man and his choice. He is still influenced by what Adam and Eve did. The font shrinks and the image becomes darker. He talks about the darkness, illness, and sin of his life. All this is unavoidable until the line grows again. Also, the first turn in the middle of the second verse emphasizing how with you or God and the speaker stand up. Speakers know that they need God's help to fly. I think all of we, in my opinion, we need God. So he becomes goblin or support himself with wings from the wings of God, since it is the speaker is trying to overcome the sin that is the root of mankind. Lisa?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Many thanks, sir.
Let's talk about the rest of the poem, and that is the final stage of our reading. And he says that my tender age in sorrow did begin. So it means that I am getting old. And when I'm older, then I feel myself more closer to death. So he says that although I am old, you are still trying to make me feel chastised, and this chastisement is going to function as an agent for my purification. And this is something that happens through this is a punishment that is realized or applied through sickness and shame, or maybe disgrace. So it means that the more I am chastised, the thinner I am. So this is a reciprocal condition that causes, each other. He feels quite chastised or punished, and this causes his thinness. Yeah, he says that I know why I am this much thin, and it is because the bulk of the sins that I have done. And then he says, I want to be a good person. I want to escape or to evacuate myself from this fatal condition. But how should he do that? With thee, let me combine and feel this day thy victory. So he wants to be combined with God. He wants to be, maybe to be merged into God, because he can only feel victory when he is merged in God, when he is part of God. Otherwise, he will not see the day of light of victory. For if I imp my wing on thine, affliction shall advance the flight in thee. So this is the most beautiful part of the poem, I think. What is imp? What is imping? Yes, actually, imping is the act of, the act of using a very strong feather in order to make a broken feather or broken wing fixed, so that that strong, that a strong feather does not allow the wing to fall down, or just to get exacerbated if it is broken. So it is like a support. It is a support that is grafted maybe by some thread on the wing, in order to keep the wing fixed and without motion, in order to make it better and better gradually, to get well soon. Yeah, and he makes a comparison here between his own body and the robustness of the idea of God, that does not allow him to fall, and that is a kind of support that he is providing himself. Yeah, that is true for Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, I think he's imagines his own wing is injured through sin.
Yes,
and
that is right.
need repair. And temp means to repair a damaged wing feather by attaching it to a new feather. I think that.
Yeah, and that new feather is God, actually. This is a metaphorical construction of the condition that he is suffering from, and he knows that he is a sinner, and he definitely is not able to release himself from committing sins. So he says that the only thing that can help me to be part of you and to be purified again is that I should just grasp your hand, the hand of God. And here, that grasping of hand is metaphorized by the image of imp, or imping his wing to the feather of God. Okay, it was a beautiful poem, wasn't it? So we should prepare for the second poem. However, I could give you a break for some minutes, and then I will get back to you soon. Okay.